Hi everyone, Bob Black with Spider TV. Time for another session of Spider School as we've been introducing you to the new names and faces of Richmond basketball. Our first two introductions, if you've been following our series, were with guys who have already played college basketball. Blake Francis, the transfer from Wagner, and Noah Yates, the graduate transfer from Yale. So now we move to the true freshmen and get their impression of college life for the first time, although with a little bit of an asterisk with our first guest of the true freshman, Jake Wojcik, who comes from quite the basketball family. Jake, we will get into that as our conversation moves along. First of all, welcome to Spider Basketball.
Thank you, thank you.
Your route to get here was a circuitous route, I would say. You had once previously been recruited and committed. Take us a little bit through that process of the early commitment that you have had, what changed, and how you wound up here at the University of Richmond.
Yeah, so I committed to Siena. I think at the beginning of my, junior year, and so the coach resigned. Coach Patzos resigned, and I reopened my commitment and found Richmond as the place to be for the next 4 years.
Why Richmond?
Well, right off the bat, Coach Jenkins, really connected with him. Really connected with Coach Mooney and the coaching staff. And on my visit, I had nothing but great things from this great school, great academics, and a great basketball family as well.
How different was the second go-around for you in the recruiting process than the first? What kind of things did you maybe learn from that initial recruitment?
Well, the second time was a little bit more stressful because it was later on in the year, and lots of schools have already, have all their guys and their roster set. So that was basically my main thing. Is just I was pretty stressed out about this whole process. But yeah, Richmond was the place.
That stress turned out okay for you.
Yeah,
it absolutely did. Now, you were also coming from the West Coast, right, where you played your high school basketball. How familiar were you with the Richmond Spiders before this whole process really got deep and involved?
I watched them a couple times this year. I saw them on TV as well, so I was a little bit familiar with how they play and just their games, I guess.
Why are you comfortable with the way Richmond plays? How do you think you fit into that mix?
Well, I'm a shooter off the bat, but I feel like I can fit with the style of play because I can get a lot of open shots and be able to create others open shots as well.
Yeah, talk a little bit more about that through your high school years and your AAU years and what you think you will bring to the table here at Richmond. I know it's going to be different. The college game obviously is different, right?
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I bring to the table basketball IQ. I can shoot it pretty well. Also be able to create for others, like I said before.
How has it been so far? You've had an opportunity to get on the court and get in some workouts, and also off the court, kind of learning your way around campus and that sort of thing with the guys in this locker room.
Yeah, it's great. Love the guys already. They really welcomed me, along with the coaching staff as well. It's been a great start so far.
What's your expectation for your first year as a freshman college basketball player?
My expectation this year is just to get better on the court and off the court in my studies as well.
What would be the one area of your game that you will work on first to improve as a college player that maybe didn't have as much impact when you were playing high school ball?
Probably more my finishes.
Okay.
So that's what I'll probably work on this offseason as well.
All right, I had asked you, and we talked about how much you knew about Richmond and that sort of thing. Now, you come from a basketball background, and trust me, Jake, the name Wojcik resonates on this campus, particularly with longtime Richmond Spider fans. But before I even zero in on those years, what's the advantage that you may have to having a dad who was a coach and an uncle who was a coach and have been in the college game for a long, long time?
Well, I kind of have like a little bit of insight on how my dad and my uncle coached, so I kind of know how that goes, and I kind of know how the practices go as far as how high intensity they are and nonstop. So yeah, that's probably just have the basketball IQ knowledge from them.
Would you consider yourself kind of a coach on the court because of that?
Yeah, I try to be, but I have to be more vocal on the court, so.
We're going to keep you vocal in front of the camera for the next 4 years. Also, how much did they help both as family members but also as members of the college basketball fraternity? I mean, were they able to guide you in that regard?
Yeah, they were. I mean, my dad always said he didn't care what I did as long as I did what I loved to do, so he never really forced basketball on me, but it was something that I got into and I fell in love with the game, and yeah, he's passed down all the knowledge, and so has my uncle.
And we alluded to your uncle is Doug Wojcik, who played on the great Navy teams with David Robinson, played right here in this building against the Richmond Spiders, and played against the guy who handles the analysis for our radio and TV broadcasts, who's a Hall of Famer here at Richmond, in Greg Beckwith. How much have those games been brought up, if at all, by your uncle, remembering back to when he played with David Robinson, playing against the team that you now play for?
Yeah, he's mentioned that a few times, actually. But actually, a couple people have mentioned me when I'm walking around on campus about my uncle, and all but great things from him. So.
Have you watched any of those films or tapes of them playing and David Robinson playing? No,
I have not.
We might have to get you in front of a monitor and let you take a little bit of a look at those games, because they were certainly classics in this building. But I know you're ready to build your own legacy and put your own signature on Richmond Spider basketball. Jake, thanks for visiting with us. First of many, I'm sure, and best of luck to you. Get ready for the fall season.
Thanks for having me.